So with our next iteration of our 2024 Prospect Pipeline video series, we look at the Philadelphia Flyers. What we do with these videos is group these prospects into tiers and just take an overview look of all of these players together as a new season approaches. But before we get into the Flyers, I want to define what a prospect is in my work and what these tiers really mean so that we have the same vocabulary going over this. To me, a prospect is a player who is within 5 years of their first year of draft eligibility, and they are also a player who has not played more than a full season on an NHL roster. And in terms of the tiers, at the top you've got franchise players who are just the players you never ever want to trade. You try to keep them Flyers for life, and that's it. Core level players are players that really build around those types of players you really don't want to have to move, but in a real pinch, there may be certain circumstances where you kind of might have to, but you really hate doing it. Then you've got your depth players, which round out your roster, maybe your second, third, fourth line, everyday players. Then you've got your maybes, which are guys who could have some level of NHL upside, but maybe are a big risk and have a long way to get there, or may just not have quite enough to punch their ticket in the NHL for 82 games in a given season. And then there's everybody else, and that's just everyone else, and they maybe have a shot, but are pretty big long shots. So to get things started, we have Matvei Michkov in the franchise tier. It is extremely rare for me to hand out a franchise tag for players, but I think Michkov deserves it. Super skilled, super silky hands, really great vision with his passing is an underrated part of his game, relentless offensive intensity, and I think just brings a ton to the game that I think is going to work really well for the Philadelphia Flyers. He's over in North America now, and I'm really excited to see what he does this year. In the core level, we've got Jet Luchenko on his own. Now, some people might be surprised by this, but I love Jet Luchenko, and I feel like he could be a really good NHL player in time. He's a great center up the middle of the ice with great speed and skill, really good puck distribution ability, goes to the net, generates offense in a way that you need in the NHL, and I think he has a ton of upside. Looking at the depth category, some people might be a little bit questioning of why there's only 3 players here, but when I look at the whole pipeline for the Philadelphia Flyers, they really seem to have only turned a corner in their drafting and development over the last 2 seasons or so, because this contains Denver Barkey, Oliver Bonk, and Alex Chernik. I'm a big fan of all of these players. Oliver Bonk took a big step forward in his game this year. He's a player that was much better with London last year than I remember the previous year. I'm still not totally sold on him being like a top 4 guy that never ever gets traded, but he could be and should be a pretty useful player in Philadelphia's lineup. I think Denver Barkey has all the potential in the world to be a really good middle 6 scoring winger, and the same can be said for Alex Chernik, and look forward to seeing him play another season with men in Sweden this coming year. And now we get to the maybes, and I want to lead off with Ilya Potov, who is just so much fun to watch. Tons of skill, tons of fun, just a super high ceiling, and he just has a ways to go to get there. Another name I want to highlight is Alexis Gendron, who did not play a full season in the AHL last year, but was arguably the best goal scorer in the Quebec League last year. I'm a huge fan of Gendron and was a player that I felt was a bit of a steal in the 7th round, and I'm really curious to see how he does in a full season in the AHL this year. Emil Andre is maybe a guy that could carve out an NHL role in the next season or 2, but I'm not sure how effective he'll be. The same can be said about Helge Grans, Zaid Wisdom, maybe Devin Kaplan at some point if he leaves college and joins the team. There's just a lot of interesting players in here that maybe are on the more optimistic side of the maybe category, but still a little bit hesitant on them. And all 3 goalies on their list for me, Alexei Kolosov, Carson Bjarnason, and Yegor Zavragin, are all in here as well. I do like Yegor Zavragin, and he's put up some really great numbers, albeit in a little bit more of a limited workload, but he's coming along well, and in time maybe finds his way up in the depth category in the future. Then at the bottom we have everybody else, and there are just a lot of players here who haven't quite developed as well as I might have hoped, or players who just, I don't know, have quite the upside to be everyday NHL players. Guys like Spencer Gill, who were drafted this year, I could see him working his way up the pyramid over the next few years. I just wasn't a huge fan of his game this year. I like Noah Powell a lot, and I felt like putting him in the maybe category, but I'll leave that for the future, and so he's kind of cautiously down here. But guys like Samu Tuomola and Carter Southern are guys that I've been a fan of, but just haven't quite developed as I want them to, and the rest of them are just fine hockey players who I just don't see NHL jobs for in the future, but who knows? Anything is possible, and these guys might find their way into a roster, but I'm just not super high on them as they are now. So the Philadelphia Flyers in general are looking pretty good. I think they've drafted pretty well over the last couple of years with a really well-balanced group of prospects with high ceilings, solid floors, maybe depth roles in the future, high-end roles in the future, and there's some decent goaltending options here as well. So we'll see how things go for them, but I'm pretty optimistic, which is why they're in the earlier parts of this video series. So that closes out the Philadelphia Flyers. If you liked it, click like and subscribe. If you really liked it, you can go to Scouching.ca, where a subscription gets you access to our Discord server, exclusive data tables for drafted and undrafted prospects, exclusive written content, and plenty of other cool stuff you can check out there at Scouching.ca. So that closes out the Philadelphia Flyers, and in our next one, we're going to look at the Seattle Kraken.